The truck goes to the dealership on 12/13. On 12/29, we get to pick our truck up. So we're so excited. We're going to go pick our truck up and drive to Love's and fill up our tank and be so happy.
Yeah.
And then the saga did not end.
Hey guys.
I'm Bob.
I'm Barb. Together we make up
HetteshWorld. This truck still has issues that have to be resolved.
Plus I'm dealing with all the out-of-pocket costs, the insurance, the replanning, and just a lot of other noise. So stay tuned. So in case you don't know, we've had a fuel contamination issue and that video is linked below. But here is a quick recap. We got contaminated fuel from Murphy's Oil. We made it only 58 miles leaving North Carolina heading to Florida, and we ended up breaking down on I-77 in South Carolina between Charlotte and Columbia. It took 4 hours to get the truck picked up with roadside assistance, an additional 6 hours to get us off the freeway. So it was dark by the time we left. They ended up towing the RV to a KOA, which was great. But the whole gist of the video is that we had a fuel contamination issue that totally destroyed our fuel system. And then when we picked it up, there were still additional issues.
So during our first test drive, actually going after some fuel from Love's Oil, we had a new error pop up on the screen. DEF high temperature. And then it also gives us some additional information that if everybody knows on these new modern diesel trucks, it will allow you to drive a certain amount of miles at a certain speed. So it gives us an error of 50 miles at full speed, and after that, if we don't get it resolved, 5 miles per hour. So you're walking speed. So we quickly returned this truck back to Rock Hill Ford for assessment.
So now, let's try to imagine and picture this, right? This has happened. Somebody is probably not very happy about what's just happening.
Me.
He pulls into the lot, flies into the service bay, and hops right out of the truck. And people are like, what are you doing? And you know, he's a man on a mission.
Yep. Our mechanic that dealt with the original issue, Josh, walked up to us. So I explained to him the error that popped up on the screen. He would get it diagnosed as soon as possible.
So I stepped in at that point, and I mentioned that when we were on I-77 between Columbia and Charlotte and off the road and broken down, right before it happened, all this dark gray smoke was kind of pumping out of the exhaust. I mean, it was like a freight train coming out. Then Josh responded, no one told me about this. So when we went in and had the initial discussion and assessment, we did go through everything that we experienced, but somehow it just didn't get to him.
And I just want to express this again. This truck has served us so well, over 88,000 miles and over 5 years with not one error message. Like we said, maybe a low fuel light, and that's it. Other than that, this truck has been rock solid. So our assessment callback was that the DPF filter was destroyed by the amount of fuel that entered the exhaust system during this problem. It also compromised 5 sensors that were in the system. At this point, we were actually talking to Josh on the phone. He told us that this filter was not available locally. The closest spot was Detroit, Michigan.
So at this point, we made an executive decision. If we ever want to get the heck out of South Carolina, which South Carolina is beautiful, but I want to go to Florida, I want to go on with my life, that we needed to pay for this filter because one, it's a holiday week. One, there's a horrible storm that's coming in. So we pay over $6,000 out of pocket, which included shipping, to get it shipped to us. And it was supposed to be overnight, but because of all the weather and all the stuff, it took like 3 days, plus the holiday, blah, 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 blah.
DPF filter, which is a diesel particulate filter, and this just makes the air super clean as it's exiting the exhaust system. So due to the fuel system being destroyed by this contamination, it was realized that it got so hot.
Hot? So hot? So hot? It's getting hot in here. Let's burn it off.
So how much can a DPF filter and a few sensors cost, you ask?
Just $11,000. And because we wanted to get the heck out of Dodge, we not only paid for the particulate filter, we also paid for the entire service out of our own pocket.
Yikes.
Yeah, and it's not like we can't, but who wants to take $11,000 and go, nobody. I mean, I might want to eat barbecue later, and now I can't eat barbecue.
Especially when you didn't cause the problem. So the truck went back in the shop on 12/29, and we did not get it back until 1/6/26. We decided to stay an additional week at the KOA to make sure that all the repairs was going to be.
I'm really glad that we did, because one, we never want to experience that again. But what did you find when we stayed a weekend and you discovered it?
I have airbags on the back suspension that we can adjust the height of the truck, not to add to the suspension load, but to adjust the height up. I'd found that one of the airbags was not holding air. Well, it turned out that it was an actual air line that ran past the exhaust system. When I installed the system, I had put some tubing on there to keep it from burning up, but it got so hot that it actually burnt through the tubing. So we had to get some replacement parts from Amazon to repair it in the KOA lot.
And of course, Mr. Fixed It right away.
Yep. So since our final repair, we have driven the truck with either driving it and towing about 750 miles. And so far, no issues.
So far. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about out-of-pocket expenses that we had and insurance. Da-da-da-da! We're going to talk about what was covered by insurance, what wasn't covered by insurance, and what might be Murphy's responsibility. And the expenses flow from December 13th to January 13th. While I'm explaining this to you, I'm going to be reading some stuff off the computer just to make it easier as far as the charges are concerned. So this list is the complete list of total expenses. Murphy's fuel was $84. And yes, I have a correction, because in the first video I kept saying $88, and I don't know why, but it was $84. So that makes it even worse. We didn't even get $4 more worth of gas for what this happened. The truck tow with Hartford, they charged us $160 out of pocket. The RV tow was $1,092. The KOA was $1,827.14. Rock Hill Ford deductible, and they did an oil change because of the damage too, was $1,763.41. Now, Rock Hill Ford fuel system replacement was over $16,000. Rock Hill Ford DPF and sensor replacement was over $11,000. And Enterprise Rent-A-Car was $1,259.93. So that gave us a total expenses of over $33,000. So for a lousy $84 in fuel, this is the result. So these are the total expenses before insurance, before subrogation, and before Murphy's. Now, before we talk about what was covered and what still is pending to us, let's talk a little bit about the insurance. First, there's RV AmeriCare, which is our warranty company that also has roadside assistance. I did call them once we got to the KOA and had a discussion with them, and they were like, so that it turned out to be nothing, no good, blah, whatever. Then I went to Foremost, and Foremost was much better to talk to the main office than the roadside assistance, and they did pull their entire roadside assistance team and retrain them. Yes, I made sure they were retrained after what we went through. And if you watch our first video, you know what I mean when they hang up and said, I don't care if you're stuck on the road, bye-bye. And then Hartford was the truck insurance, and Hartford is the total hero of this entire scenario. Our Hartford representative's name was Susie. We called her. Well, once I initially called Hartford, gave them the stuff, Susie was assigned to us. She called us, went through everything, immediately worked on getting an adjuster out to Ford. They went out quite a few times. They took pictures. They were detailed. The worst part of it was the adjuster for even the first and especially the second was not good at getting back with people and following up. Either Rock Hill Ford might be waiting for something or Hartford might be waiting for something. But Hartford itself was on par. I mean, we know this girl's handling how many billions of cases a day, but she remembered us. She knew what was going on. She worked hard to get us, taken care of. and seen and believed and paid and gone. So Susie, I thank you very much for that. And Rock Hill Ford was also super amazing throughout this whole process. If you live in the South Carolina area, anywhere near Rock Hill, South Carolina, or if you're driving through or you need some kind of service, only go to Rock Hill Ford. There's other ones around, but they are actually listed as the top one on Google for their service and the repairs. They're competent. They know what they're doing. Jenny was the woman who took care of us. Josh was the mechanic. The two of them are outstanding. I cannot say enough about them at all. Not enough about them. So now let's go back and talk about the expenses again from December 31st to January 13th and what was really paid by who and what was not. So Murphy's fuel, the $84 charge, that's still pending because that's going to end up being a Murphy's charge down the road. And the truck tow, where they charge us $160 to tow our truck under Hartford. Hartford's like, I have no idea why they did that, and they reimbursed us right away. So that was great. The RV tow of $1,092 is pending, and that's going to be under Murphy's. The Rock Hill Ford deductible and oil change that had to be done totaled $1,763.41. So what happens when any of this kind of stuff happens and there's a third party involved like Murphy's, you deal with your insurance company, and your insurance company pays whatever they have to pay, and then you pay your deductible, right? So now it goes into subrogation because they're going after Murphy's and saying, hey, you owe us for all these expenses that we had to pay out of pocket. And that would include our deductible. And I would think the oil change, maybe not, who knows. But that one's kind of pending. So that one, there's a chance that Hartford subrogation could pay us $1,500 and then Murphy's would owe us like $263.41, or there's a chance that the Murphy's would have to owe us the whole thing depending on what happens with the subrogation. So the Rock Hill Ford fuel system, that was over $16,000, that was paid by Hartford right up front. And then, and I'll say one thing on that. Normally they pay by wire, directly to Rock Hill Ford. But for some reason, when Rock Hill Ford was doing their little thing, our girl was out sick, someone had chose mail a check. And here we are thinking we're going to leave. And they're like, sorry, you can't have your truck because your payment hasn't arrived. And I'm like, no, I just want to leave. So the owner, I guess, was really gracious and decided to let us have our truck because they had worked with Hartford before and they knew the check was in the mail, so it was fine. Plus, we brought it back in an hour anyway, so it was a big deal. But Hartford paid for that. And then the Rock Hill Ford DPFs and sensors replacement was over $11,000. We paid that out of pocket. We paid it out of pocket. And it took a little bit because this is where the adjuster was dragging his butt. So we're out $11,000, but after, I want to say a week, he finally got it together. And then Susie was great. She immediately paid me back the $11,000. Thank you, Susie. Thank you very much. The Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So the initial cost for Enterprise Rent-A-Car is $1,259.93. So Hartford paid $920 of that bill. And then that left a balance of $339.93. And Hartford ended up coming back and paying an additional $80 on that and left a final bill of $259.93. And that is going to be something that's going to go to Murphy's as an out-of-pocket expense that they're going to have to pay. So the original total was over $33,000. What's left that's going to still be due to us after all the insurance is paid, once the subrogation is done, is approximately $3,850.48. And I guess I should say Hartford and Murphy's because we don't know about the deductible, who's going to pay for that. But yeah, that's where it is. And that's all that we've got left out of pocket. But please give me back my money. That's a lot of barbecue and Whataburger and some other fun stuff, like maybe some diesel someplace else. So what's happening currently is that Murphy's has now received the subrogation with from Hartford, and it's been about 2 weeks. And the subrogation guy is really great. He is keeping me in the loop and letting me know what's going on. So he's pending on Murphy's, and Murphy's is investigating. So when this first happened, we immediately filed a claim with Murphy's. So it was on file and explained what happened, and they recognized it and gave it a case number. So they have all the facts up front from December 13th on. And then I've been keeping them in the loop, sending revised claim forms saying, okay, you know, because at first I got a thing where I thought they said that they were denying us, but they were saying they're not denying us, they're putting us on hold until Hartford and subrogation gets done. I still send you claim forms saying, okay, here's the updated listing of, you know, what's now out of pocket now and what's not out of pocket now. And so they've got this last little bit here. And we're hoping subrogation goes through pretty quickly, because I know they said it could be like 6 months, but hopefully it won't be that long. And the last thing I want to talk about is the KOA. The KOA and the managers of the KOA and all the people that work there are fabulous. It is the most outstanding campground I've ever stayed at. One, we were in dire straits on that road. I was afraid. I was worried. We found them. They scheduled us, which is great. With Thousand Trails, would that have happened? No. They put us in, and then they kept calling us. Are you guys okay? Are you all right? And then we got to the point where we called them and said, can you find someone to help us tow it? And they said, no, we don't know anyone. But they did help us find this wonderful wrecking service that eventually was the one we called and had come out and get us when the insurance completely failed us on towing us off the freeway. And then they realized that we were 44 feet long, and then the guy towing us was also 40 some feet long. So it's like, I don't know, 90 feet driving down the road. So they went into their system and moved reservations around. So then when you come in the park, you come in, and then the campground's this way, and there's spots, and we went right into the first spot. And then he was able to go right out and out the road and leave. So that made it easier, because trying to drive around a campground and pull in and navigate, if you RV, you know that is no easy task. So they were very gracious. They stayed late for us. You know, they were supposed to be off and enjoying themselves, but they stayed late to make sure they were okay. They helped us set up, because I was a complete wreck. I was like walking around like, you know, like I just was lost and would not have survived without them. And then the last shout out is to the wrecker people, which is called Rock City Truck Service. And him and his wife, we talked to them earlier, but we didn't want to really have to pay, so we were hoping the insurance would take care of it. But the insurance failed, so we called them, and it took them an hour to get to us. It was dark. They came out right away. I mean, you know, no hesitation. Hooked us up in the darkness and got us safely to the campground, and they also helped us set up. And they felt super sorry for us and were so kind to us, because I was almost, I think, in tears and shock at that point. So thank you so much, KOA. Thank you so much, Rock City Truck Service. We greatly appreciate it. You guys learned a lot from this video. We learned a lot from this,
yes,
and it's definitely something we didn't want to learn. So for our sakes, please give us a thumbs up. Remember to smash up that notification bell. Subscribe. Bob's going to want you to comment.
Give us your comments. Let us know, has this kind of tragedy on the road ever happened to you before? We've been driving the truck for over 750 miles now with no problems. So I'm going to knock on some wood. Hopefully it's all fixed.
We promise to definitely do a third video to give you guys just a short one on the update of what happens with all the expenses in Murphy's. So guys, remember, we're HetteshWorld.
Come travel in our incredible world.
Bye. Check out the videos here for more entertainment, and don't forget to watch our next video, which is going to be about the Oklahoma City bombing.
Oh, that's a sad one.